Pest. Audio. Pest. These are the voyages. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, Fusionist. Hey, Rhiannon Journey. Hey, Diginanigans. How's it going, y'all? We will change the music here in a second. Something a little livelier for our Friday stream here. Because it's Friday. Here we are. Here I am. Yeah. Something a little livelier. There was one passage that sounded weirdly compressed. I could believe that. Twitch bitrate is not incredible. The fact that it's limited to 6 MB per second. Whereas over on YouTube, we're doing like 40. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know audio doesn't take up a lot of bits, but still. All right. Diginanigans, too bad. Oh, you're not doing too bad? You're playing around with making a few tiles for the tile map? Hell yeah. So when you say tile map, you're talking about your grid map, right? Like your 3D grid map? Or are you talking about like how you were describing how you want to like procedurally change the individual sections? Like if you have a section, you might want to change parts of that section. Like texturing wise and stuff. Are you talking about that kind of thing? Like gravel paths with like grass overlays and stuff. But yeah, how's everyone else doing? Happy Friday. I'm sitting down, I'm tired. We just gotta get through this day, and we got a weekend. There's something about the work week following a holiday. It's like Monday was a holiday here. There's something about the work week after each holiday is so brutal, it makes you almost like regret the time off of work. Well, we're pretty much through with it now. Who knows? High quality audio will be 320 kilobits. Lots of middleman make anything possible. Yeah, it's crazy. Who knows? Rhiannon Journey, you're running on Red Bull today. You got like 4 hours of sleep last night. Oof. Well, I hope it gives you the fuel you need to get through the rest of the workday, and then you can be welcomed back into the land of sleep. Diginanigans, yeah, you're creating 3D tiles that are made of voxels. Fancier stuff won't come until a later point. I think that's so cool. So what we are trying to do is an extension of what we were doing yesterday. We're going to carry on with that. We're switching. Right now, we're doing our cutaway per tile, which I think is maybe fine. I kind of want to do it per block, and then each tile can like think about that when determining whether it should be drawn or not. But I don't know, maybe it is better to do the cutaways by tile. What we do need to do is the compartment obscurity by block. So we're figuring out the... I could probably call it like determine compartment order or something like that. Visual compartment hierarchy or something like that. But what we're determining is which compartments are in front of the other compartments for cutaway purposes. Rhiannon Journey, this might be stupid. What is the difference between a tile and a block? That's not a stupid question. That is a good question. So, in my mind, Fusionist, you've been working on music for the past week, hence being in chat list. Oh, no worries. Yeah, I don't think I could work on any sound-related stuff and have anything going on in the background. I get it. So if we look here, so here's like a block. So a block consists of like an upper segment, which could be like a wall or whatever, and a lower segment, which is like the floor. So together, this forms one block. This is like one 3D coordinate in the game. And then a block is made up of multiple things. So a block would be made up of individual faces. So for example, for these here, and in fact, there's another one because there would be another. So like this block is actually made up of 6 faces. We don't show them all here because there's essentially another roof tile, or there's another ceiling tile like in here, like on top of the floor piece. So each of these individually is a face, and there's one tile map that's that's responsible for rendering faces along one axis of one type. So like there's a tile map that just renders the X facing floor walls. There's another tile map that renders X-facing bulk pieces like this, and there's another tile map that renders, you know, the Z-facing ones here. So each of these are tiles. Each of these individual sections are tiles. So right now there's about 6 or 7 tiles per block, depending on what's on there. And then this is the block. The block is like the 3D space that the tiles are like billboarding. So, you know, if we do the cutaway per tile, that means we're calculating the cutaway like 6 or 7 times, right? But if we calculate the cutaway per block, we do it once, and then we can just reference that, and when we're figuring out the tile, we can just be like, okay, I'm this kind of tile. What does that mean if we've cut away this block? Because if you're a floor piece and you're marked for cutaway, you may still render depending on some other circumstances, like where the cursor coordinate is. Move this somewhere here. Save it. Rhiannon Journey. So each face is a tile in each tile map. And a block would be all of the faces combined over every tile map. Yeah, for a given point in 3D space. So like the block is the 3D point in space, and a tile is like one facet of how we're rendering that block for, at least for the terrain, for like the background for ships and stuff. So a block might have, you know, a bunch of tiles rendering onto it. Cool, makes sense. Good. I'm never quite sure the quality of my explanations. Fusionist, you've had the stream in the background before when I weren't playing tunes. Yeah. I'm back and forth on playing music in the background of the stream. If I'm gonna be honest. For me personally, for like me as a person who's just existing while the stream occurs, it's really nice to have music. Like, it's really awkward to sit in silence for like 3 hours, only hearing your own voice. But I understand that it's like alienating to a certain extent. But I also understand that it allows me to be more in control of the vibe. So I don't know. I am a little torn on it, honestly. All right. So when we're determining the compartment obscurity, I almost want to call this a hierarchy. We call this like get compartmental hierarchy. We can call it whatever we want. We don't use this function yet. It's the norm. Yeah, there are exceptions though. Like Like, Aramis doesn't play music. Aramis has, like, a Spotify channel that only he can hear. Or a Spotify playlist. So, like, he's listening to music, but there's no music on the stream. And so, like, you, the end user, could listen to your own music. Or not. Or whatever. You play music on your stream? Yeah, it is the norm. I don't know. The thing is, I pay like $80 a year for Pretzel Rocks. I think I'd be annoyed if I only used it for my intro and outro sequences and like ad breaks. Diginanigans, the music's good. It's quiet enough that it's not overpowering and doesn't stand out, but also helps break the silence. Yeah. Hey, Bad Cop. How's it going? How's life? I think we were hanging out in Kuvi Man's stream the other day. Life is okay? Well, that's good. Or at least okay. Alright, so what we're doing here is we grab our little bit field. If the bit field is like basically empty, whatever, continue. Otherwise, we go through and we add the index, like the number of the bit, to a list. And this is all the compartments that this block belongs to, that the floodfill has decided this block belongs to. So if it's just an empty space, it'll be 1. It'll either be outside or inside. It'll belong to 1 compartment. But if it's a wall, if it's a flat wall, it will belong to 2, because it would belong to the compartment on one side and the compartment on the other. If it's a corner piece, it might belong to 4 compartments, because each compartment around it diagonally is claiming it. So we get somewhere between 1 and 4 compartments generally. So we grab our neighboring blocks. So we grab the positive X block and the positive Y block. These are the 2 blocks in front of the block that we're considering. So it's the 2 blocks that might obscure visually our block. And then what we're doing is we're going through, okay, here are all the compartments in the block that we're considering. If both of these neighboring blocks belong to the same compartment as us, then whatever, we're not at an edge of the compartment, so we don't care, so just continue. If we are on an edge, so if like the positive X block isn't part of the same compartment as us, that means we've broken through to another compartment. And what we want to do is we want to say, okay, so this compartment is obscured by the other... Hold on. Oh, okay. So this compartment is obscured by all compartments that's not this compartment. I hate doing this. I hate doing this bitwise stuff. It always takes me like a minute to read it and be like, what am I doing here? Like, okay, negate, or what? But I understand what this means. This is like, it's not a toggle. It's like, I want to guarantee that this flag is not included. In fact, we're missing a parentheses here. Oh, no, we aren't. It's right here. Phew. Scared me for a second. All right, so we do that. Then we also, I guess we do the same thing for the other block, for the Y block. I think all we do is change that. All right, so we do that. And then what is this? Why do I have this here? I think this is like leftovers. Positive block dot parts and what is this supposed to ask? Do our parts not exactly... Do we have no matching compartments? I don't know. I don't know why I wrote that. Because before I decided I had to do this per compartment. Okay, so theoretically by the end of this, we get a dictionary. Do I have to clear this dictionary when I start? I probably should. Should probably clear it whether or not we do anything. All right, so this should give us a kind of hierarchy of compartments. Question is, now what do we do with it? I think the intention is that, so when we're mousing around, our mouse cursor lands in a compartment, right? And the system is going to say, okay, give me the bit field that represents all the compartments that visually obscures this compartment where our mouse cursor's in. What we need to do is we need to cut away all of the blocks in those compartments. I kind of need like a has any check, which I guess is this. It's for each. All right, so is that it? Is that like literally the whole process of this? What if the block is outside? Do we have a check against that? Do we care? So what if a block is empty? If a block is empty, or not if a block is empty, if a block is outside, if we like hit a block that's outside, like in outer space. So we get to this part where it says like, we wouldn't pass through this because this is about, do we belong to the same compartment? And that's, outside is the opposite of a compartment. There's no compartment. It's just zero. If your compartment is 0, your bit field is 0. The total value of your bit field or whatever. So if this positive block dot parts is 0, we AND it with this, we'll get 0. So we aren't part of this compartment that we're comparing against. And so we would say obscure compartment is, so what we do is we take the inverse of our parts We ore the compartment that we care about. And then we flip it back. So that way we have this block's parts, but minus the particular compartment that we're considering. If that's 0, the result is still 0. And then we just ore it with whatever's already here. Okay, so there's no harm in doing it. We could theoretically do an early out, but I feel like it's easier to just not care. In fact, this early out is like kind of unnecessary. What we could do is we could do a try get. We could say if pause y block dot try get. So we could structure it this way instead. Instead of structuring it like this, we could say if blocks dot try get blocks dot AABB dot view absolute towards plus vector 3i dot right out variable positive x. So we could do it this way. So we're not trying to prevent any kind of behavior. Like, we're already getting the blocks. So this early out doesn't really do anything for us. I guess we don't want to do this comparison here in the inner loop here because no, let's not do it this way. I don't hate doing the out. We could just do here, we could just have the early out here. We could say if pause x, God, pause x block and pause x block is equal to default and positive y block is equal to default. These are both equal to default, and we just continue. That's where the early out should be. And this is fine. I question the value of this one, but who cares? All right, so in theory, we have our little dictionary of blocks. So let's actually test that. I kind of question running this here. I want to have the dictionary on hand. But this actually doesn't need to be a dictionary. This could be a dynamic buffer. And it could belong to the entity. So we could actually tie this to... So we really want to tie this to the tool system. Or actually we want to tie this to the flood system, if anything. The fill system. Because after the flood fill system runs, that's when we want to figure out this compartment obscurity thing. So we don't actually want to do this here. But for testing purposes, let's just do it, because who cares? So we'll say get compartmental hierarchy, merging blocks. Oh, interesting. We're doing this based on merging blocks. But the floodfill only works on settled blocks. So does that mean that this might not actually work with the editor? I didn't think about that, but it's definitely a problem. That's gonna look super weird, but I'm not sure what to do about that right now. Oh, we probably don't want to run this here then. Probably want to move this. So if we move this, what we would do is we would make this a dynamic buffer. Right now, uint. I kind of want to make a compartment buffer. It's kind of just a buffer 3D, isn't it? No, it's not. It's not a buffer 3D. So we could call it... So instead of block buffer, we could say compartment buffer. And that could just have the hierarchical draw data stuff. So if I were to make a new buffer, that would look like... I really need to separate the structural entity component system file stuff from the discrete implementation for this game. Like all the stuff to run the ECS, I need to spin this off into like a plugin or something. It's just inconvenient, but I would really love to be able to have this stuff in like a framework system, in like a code framework, so I could actually use it. If I was able to use this during Ludum Dare, it would have been so helpful. Been so helpful. The one thing I didn't have, which I desperately needed, was a way to mediate between a tile map layer thing, like what I'm doing here, and nodes. And discrete nodes. And I didn't have that. But this is that kind of mediation system. Alright, so if I was to do this, I would say component buffer. So block buffer 3D. This is what I call it. Block buffer 3D. Okay. Then AABB, you're an iBuffer 3D component. I kind of just want to call it like a bit field buffer. And I kind of want to make it generic. But then the problem is if I make it generic, that means I can only have one bit field on a given entity, and that's not what I want. So it needs to be discrete. It needs to be specific. So we would say, give me a new struct. We'll call it I guess I'll just call it compartment buffer for now. It's not really a compartment buffer because we're not buffering the compartments. I guess we are. We're buffering the overlap of the compartments. It's more of like an order buffer, but yeah, this is the most context. I'm gonna just call it compartment buffer for now. We'll probably rename it to something like compartment. Probably call it like part hierarchy or part order or something like that. Compartment buffer doesn't need any qualifiers, so it's a public read-only record struct. It is a iBuffer component, and it's an iBuffer component of right now it's a uint, but it should probably just be a ulong. Can I not do this? Oh, I need to implement some required fields. Implement missing numbers. Do I want a primary constructor? Yeah, I do. So I need to implement, I'm obliged to implement a public buffer ID, and I'm obliged to implement a length. Could I do this differently? Can I just say this? Is this sufficient? Yeah, this seems to be sufficient. You're happy? Yep, because you implement length, even if it's just in this primary constructor. Okay, what else do you need? These. Honestly, if the buffer ID is the same, it's probably sufficient, but hashcode.combine. Does this not work? Oh, I need to implement. I need to import system.hashcode. All right, so here's our compartment buffer. This is something that's going to need to be reallocated quite a bit, which is interesting. We can honestly build it and then set it and then use it. This is what I want to do. I want to be able to send more information from one system to another without having to actually make it like system variables and stuff. So I want to tie as much to an actual entity as possible. Some data I can like pass around. I need to switch this compartment thing to like a ulong though. It should not be an int. Or a uint, it should be a ulong. I'm going to do that now before we implement it in a bunch of locations. That way we can at least have 64 compartments. If you have more than 64 compartments in a ship, that's a problem. All right, so we've got our compartment buffer. We're going to start using it. We're going to put it as, should we put it in the after the compartmentalize function? Yeah, probably. So we'll compartmentalize, and then what we're going to do is we're going to grab the function from I'm going to grab this. We're going to get this function. We're going to move this function, this get compartmental hierarchy. Move it here. So we don't have this obscured by dictionary or this compartments dictionary. The compartments dictionary we could actually have. No, we could actually have. That should actually just be a local variable, though. Variable compartments equals new list. List int compartments. So we'll compartmentalize, then we're going to get the compartmental hierarchy. Put compartmental hierarchy, pass in the settled blocks. We will deal with the consequences of that being... Are these all static functions? They could be, couldn't they? So the goal of the compartmental hierarchy is to output a component that we can use to set. So we would say something like just call this like part hierarchy or something. Let's say set part hierarchy. And what we're going to return so we're not using a buffer 3D. This is just a buffer. So a buffer 3D. Kind of wish I had an easier way of just making a bunch of buffers. So what we need to do, make another struct. We need to call this buffer read write. It's gonna be a ref struct. Read only ref struct. Is unmanaged. So you need to know your buffer ID. So this is the same deal. We need to have a couple of different constructors. So length. Length is Is there? And we also need a read-write span. Public span. T span get. So we need the constructor that takes the component, and we need the structure that just takes the ID and the length. We need both of them. Why do we need both of them again? When do we only... Oh, so this is actually a private constructor. It's actually only used... Okay. And that's just so that we can convert between the two. Should honestly make some kind of... Should make some kind of buffer interface. So that it's a little easier to recreate these, but I really only need a 3D buffer, a 2D buffer, and a 1D buffer. So I'm kind of tempted to just write it. Not worry about it. Span equals game.world.get read write buffer. It wanted to help me out there. The autofill thing sometimes tricks me, and I like skip through it, even though what it wanted to tell me was exactly what I needed here. So buffer read write. Buffer ID. Now this, I'm going to copy this part over. There isn't a buffer read only yet. There will be. All right, now I need all of these functions. So contains doesn't really make sense. Well, I mean, it makes sense, but it's just gonna... Like, it's just gonna be the int version of it. And let's just take all this and convert it over. So we have a contains. This is going to take just a length, or it'll be an index. So this is just index Greater than or equal to 0 and less than length. Yep. Equals. Oh. That's wrong. So here we only combine the buffer ID. I kind of also want the length. Yeah, we're not using the... So I want to make sure... I guess the AABB is fine. Rhiannon Journey redeems the hydrate. Thank you, Rhiannon Journey. Fusionist, what's on the menu today? So what we're doing... We're trying to increase the sophistication of our like cutaway systems. And so our cutaway system now looks, so we flood fill and we get a list of compartments. So like if we create a sealed room, that's considered a compartment. And so when you mouse into a compartment, it basically brings down the four walls, right? Like the walls in front of that compartment so that you can see into the compartment. But it can't just do that. It also has to bring down the walls of the compartments in front of it, in front of that compartment that you're trying to look into. So we're creating like a hierarchy of these compartments that obscure each other so that when we mouse into a compartment, we can be like, okay, bring down, cut away all of these the walls from all of these other compartments. And in some cases, floors, like if there's a vertical element to it, like if there's a compartment above this compartment. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to make our cutaway system, our visibility like cutaway system more sophisticated. And so we're laying some groundwork for that right now. Okay. Like you're like, please stop explaining. What kind of stuff are you working on? You said you're working on music. No, yeah, I'm just messing with you. So we don't need a get index function for a buffer, for a one-dimensional buffer. We don't need any of this. We can have a get. I wonder if the get should be private. No, I want an unsafe get. I want people to be able to be like, I know what index I'm looking for and I know it's within bounds. We should be able to enumerate T in our buffer. We probably need to implement that. Hey, Digi. Hope you're having a good Friday. I am. Hey, Repo. How are you doing? How's the app? Fusionist, yeah, you have some instrumentals you've been writing for fun. You also volunteered on a tiny soundtrack and for a Vaporwave Canada Day compilation. And then there's a live set you have to prepare. There's a lot of music coming up in your life. That's awesome. I don't do music. I don't do it. I can play a couple of instruments. I've not done any digital music stuff. I'm like just raring to go. I need some time and a good reason, but I really want to. Okay, set function, easy. Try get int index. All right, I think this is good. It should be fine. Fusionist, you're gonna love it when it's soundtrack making time 4 years from now. I know, but the thing is, I need to practice. I'm actually most excited to do like ambient soundscape stuff. Like I think that's what I'm gonna try for like practicing with like Bespoke, which I want to try to use Bespoke because that seems fun. But I want to try some different sound effects and ambient soundscape stuff first before I'm worried about like the music soundtrack. I want to like cut my teeth on like SFX and like ambience and stuff. I think it'll be fun. And I think that's crucial for like a sci-fi game. I think the auditory vibe of a sci-fi game is like really crucial. Oh, I got someone to ban. Fire the photon torpedoes. Got him. Rihanna Journey soundtrack streams are going to be so much fun. Listening to hundreds of samples to get the right beep. Oh yeah, people are going to hate that so much. I'm going to be like, hold on, we have to listen to the sample for the 300th time. Because I think it's a little too tinny. You know, like tweak it a little bit. Play it again. Yes, finally you got banned. No, it wasn't you, Repo. Fusionist, half of the tracks will be edited recordings of my GDC attendances. You like sound browsing streams? Yeah, I could hear that. All right, so this is good. So we just recreate a read-only version of this. I want to consider like maybe a better way of structuring this stuff. I don't like having these totally separate read-write and read-only versions. I wonder if there's like... Or I could at least do something about having there be like an interface to handle some of this boilerplate. So it's a little weird that I can't compare the read-it-writes and the read-onlys. I should be able to compare them to each other. So there should be like a... I mean, I don't want to box. I cannot box a ref struct, is my understanding. So I guess that does kind of limit what I'm trying to do. Oh, and this needs to be a read-only span. All right, so there's our read only and our read write spans. Oh, I can't have a set function. Let's all find the beeps together. Yeah, let's do it. Shenanigans, since the spam never seems to hit YouTube, you always envision it as me just having a quota to just randomly pick a viewer and punting them off the stream. Yeah, I wish I was that big a streamer. I could just be arbitrarily banning people. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good point that there are seemingly no spam bots on YouTube, at least at this scale. I'm sure there are once you get bigger. But I don't know. I don't know what the difference is from like a moderation standpoint. Okay, so we have our non-spatial buffers. We have our like one-dimensional buffers. Our buffer read write and our buffer read only. These are going to power our compartment buffer. So now we can do all this stuff and we can just attach it to the entity. So that buffer will be associated with the entity. So we can set it in one system and then just pull it out in another system without actually having to share anything between the systems. All right, we got an ad starting soon. Hold your horses here. So we could set the part hierarchy. So we make this list of compartments. We also need to fill out this buffer. So I can't know this before I start. So what am I gonna do? So if I say something like game.world.set buffer component compartment buffer. Oh, we got an ad break. We'll be back in 3 minutes. All right, ad break over. We back. All right, so I just wrote the set buffer component function. I have never used it before, I don't think. This is something... Okay, it says there's another use somewhere. Okay, I never... Where do I use this? Here, second... Oh. I see. I use it in an error message. That's all I use it. So this is like... We recreate the buffer. This is the function that makes the buffer dynamic, is that we can recreate it. Okay, so the value of T1 is the component. So we send the component. So we have to set the buffer component and then we get the buffer, I guess? It's a little weird, but that's okay because what we need to do is we have to... Could I have a version of this that's like set buffer? Where we like set the buffer? No, because we don't know what component is associated with the buffer, right? That's not something we know. No, it's not. The component is responsible for knowing the buffer that's associated with it. We don't have the opposite direction of that. So we don't have a set buffer because of that reason. We have an add buffer component. Oh, we need to change the component.isBuffer function. So we've got a block buffer and now we have a compartment buffer. I may shorten this to just say part buffer.
Please leave a message at the beep.
I wonder if I should have like a buffers flags. So we could have like a private, or we could have a public flags buffers equals block buffer or compartment buffer. Flags dot block buffer or flags dot compartment buffer. Then we can just isBuffer is just... Oh, we don't really have a has any function, do we? So we need to have a... So we'd have a function kind of like in the block. So it has any, so we'd say something like this. Oh, here we are. So we'd have a thing like this. We'd say for all flags for each flag in buffers. Will that not work? How do I do this with the blocks? Forms, array, all forms, enum.getValues forms. Ah, I need to do it that way. Call it all buffers. I might do this private static read only. Repo, always a hard question, but do you have a timeline in mind to at least alpha or beta? I do. Well, I have a roadmap. Whether you could call it a timeline is a question. It's kind of like I'll call it an unindexed timeline. Oh, why is this so zoomed out? There we go. So we're shooting for our alpha MVP here, our minimum viable product for our alpha. It's going to be free, it's going to be on itch, and it's going to have a Steam demo, so we'll put up a Steam page for it at that time. This will be like the big public, you know, first look at the game, and it's going to have a few things. It's going to have the tile block editor, which is the thing we're working on now, which is like the tool that lets you build ships. Or, you know, anything. Like, it's going to be that you don't just build ships, you're going to, it's like, let's say there's a base on an asteroid, or a star base, or like an outpost on a planet. Like, those little areas are going to be built using the tile block editor. So we're working to finish up this. We need to finish this soon. Then we need to move on to the shipboard simulation, which is like, okay, so you've got your ship, you are leaving play mode. Oh god, what did I do? There we go. You're out of play mode, or out of edit mode, you're in play mode, you've got your ship. Now you need to simulate what's happening. Like, how does power move through the ship? How do crew members pathfind around it? Like, how does air move through the ship? Like, how does the life support system works? Like, that's gonna be the next big thing to work on. Repo, you get it? You're trying to push to get yours up. So much to do, though. Yeah. And then the next editor is the scenario editor. This is the thing that lets you, like, script encounters. So, like, let's say you jump to an asteroid, and when you interact with the, like, if you, like, send a landing party or something to the asteroid, then, like, an enemy ship jumps in or something like that. So it's like, it's the thing that describes how ships interact with each other when they're in the same local space. And that local space, I call it the 9-box battlefield. So it's basically a 9-box grid where your ship is always in the middle, and other ships or whatever, like I said, outposts or whatever, are always in some kind of relation to that on the 9-box. We might do something else for, like, planet-side landings. Like, if there's, like, an outpost on a planet and you need to send a crew down there, maybe that's, like, in the background and you, like, click on it or something. Maybe it's not actually in the 9-box, but these are basically the 4 key features that I want. And I would like to have this up in, like, a year. It would be nice. It would be nice if we got this up in a year, but we need to get serious. I need to make like a Kanban board of, like, all the things it's gonna take to complete each of these. I need to at least start with this, with the tile block editor. Like, I need a Kanban board of, like, here are all the features until I'm, like, that I need before I'm satisfied that we have at least, like, the basic version of the editor. It doesn't need to be perfect. It only needs to be good enough for me. Like, we can make another pass on it later so that, you know, it's nicer for other people to use. But I really need to do that. And once I have that, it'll be a lot easier to say, okay, I think it's going to take this long to finish this. And then we can move on to the next thing. And there's going to be, like, exploratory phases. So, yeah, I don't know. I would say I don't have a strict timeline, but I do have a series of phases that I'm thinking about over the next, you know, 4, 5, 6 years, however long it takes. And that's kind of our roadmap. But yeah, in theory, if I wanted to do all of this in a year, we needed to spend no more than 3 months on the tile block editor. We've almost done more than that. So, I don't know. It's going to be a while. But we do need to start thinking more seriously about it as an actual, you know, timeline with an actual goal in mind. What's this and has shit? What is that doing in there? What does that do for us? All right, has is form and form is equal to form. Okay. So we're saying if forms and form. Okay, so we're saying if. Okay, we're saying is this form part of the form that we passed in? And then is that form in our block? Oh, I see. Okay. So that's not just like... Okay, so that's a little different than what we're doing here. What we're doing here is we're just asking... So for each flag and all buffers... Flags and flag is equal to flag. That's all we're checking. So does this set of flags that we're passing in, which might be more than one flag, honestly. This is like, are any of these is any of these a buffer? I'm gonna call this flag. Because you should really only be passing in one flag for this. I'm going to call this buffers. I'm going to say component. If buffers and component is equal to component, value is to component. Then this component is a buffer. All right, that's fine. Repo, nice. You've been thinking about the timeline a lot lately. Easy to make, but as a dev, it's roadblocks fairly often. Not in a bad way necessarily, but man, that timeline just disintegrates. I feel like it's easier to plan something you've done before, obviously. So if you're doing something you've literally never done before, like just make a particular kind of game, right? There's all these exploratory phases. And you can really only start to think about timelines when you're leaving the exploratory phase, when like you're through the pre-production. But the problem is pre-production is not a thing that just begins and ends when you're a solo developer. Like I was in pre-production on the tile editor. I'm on the block editor. I'm like pretty sure I know what the block editor needs at this point. So now I would say I'm in more of a production approach to it, to the editor specifically. But once we move into the simulation, I'm going to be back into an exploratory mode. I'm going to be back in pre-production. And I'm going to need to see like, okay, so what's possible in the simulation based on all the constraints from the tile block editor and what we're building. So I'll need a phase of that before I can even guess how long it's going to take to complete the ship simulation part. So it's really hard to set timelines like that when you're doing something creative that's not just something you've already done before, that you haven't like honed as like a craft, like where you're like, oh, I've made like a party RPG. I've made a 2D party RPG before, so I think it'll take about this long to make another 2D party RPG. Like that's hard enough. Rhiannon Journey, you've had a hard enough time getting estimates for features on the code base you've been working on for 8 years. Yeah, your estimates for your game won't be anywhere near accurate. Exactly. That's a very succinct way to put it, Rhiannon Journey. All right, so we're going to attempt to use our set buffer component for the first time to actually start doing a dynamic buffer thing. It's a little awkward, though, because it means we need to set the buffer component and then get the buffer. Okay, so what we do, so we need to create something here. So this could be like, this could just be like a, could just be like a U-long array. So we just say like hierarchy is get part hierarchy. So we say get part hierarchy. And instead of a void, it's a U-long array. So we'd say compartments is this list. We'd say U-long hierarchy, part hierarchy. I don't even know how long this array is, do I? I guess no. I need to get back. So from the compartmentalize knows how many partition counts we have. So I actually need to get a value out of this. Public static int compartmentalize. And so I need to actually return the partition count. You say return partition count. Can I not return? Oh, it's just partition. Oh, this is dumb. We don't actually return at the bottom. We'd actually do that here. Shenanigans. One of the best analogies you've heard is somebody passing you a random object with a blindfold on and asking you how long it will take to fix it. Then smashing that said object and asking how long now. Obviously, estimates improve with experience, but it's hard to know about the things you don't know won't know. Yeah, that's the unknown unknown, right? There's known unknowns and there's unknown unknowns. And you can't know how many unknown unknowns there are. You can have an intuition if you're incredibly experienced, but that's all it is. Repo. You mean I already know your project app. You already know your project app, web-based, but you just keep coming up on stuff that needs to be addressed. You've done 99% of this stuff hundreds of times, but sheesh, you're just curious. Well said, stupid unknown unknowns. Yeah, I can't take credit for that. That was like, I don't know who. I don't know who popularized that way of speaking. I think I kind of have an idea. Oh yeah, okay, it was who I thought it was. It was Donald Rumsfeld who popularized that. I was like, I'm pretty sure I know who this was. It's kind of sad that I do. All right, so what we want to do is we want to say... We actually want to do the return first. We want to say return 0. Otherwise, we want to define a partition count. I'm going to call this partition count. I'm going to rename this. Because that's what it is. And it's not a uint. It's just like a regular int. Bar. Okay, while unvisited.count is greater than 0, we're going to say return partition count. Visited partition count. Why do you need to be a uint? All right, partition count dot times 0 times equal 2. We should have the times equal 2 at the top, huh? If we're gonna do it this way. We can't really have it at the top, though, can we? This is kind of stupid. I'm gonna just do it like this. It's kind of stupid to do a count check and then return and then just have that be part of the while loop here, but whatever, who cares? I could honestly turn this into a while true then, and it wouldn't matter. But this is additional safety, so who cares? All right, so let's figure out why the interior floodfill is unhappy with us. So you want to be a uint, and that's your compartment. Is that just because... Yeah, okay, I'm using you for this purpose. So you actually should be a u-long. Block parts also needs to be a u-long. Oh, you need to be... Does that break anything in here? No. I am deeply uncomfortable with this implicit limit where, like, you can't have a ship with more than 64 compartments. Or technically, you can't... No, yeah, more than 64 compartments. Probably a way around this. I need to look up how, because like an enum doesn't have this limit, right? So there's something happening under the hood with an enum. But an enum is like a compile time thing, so they're able to say like, how many values does the enum have? Okay, it'll just use like a... store this data in a way that just works. I could probably make my own bit field. Actually, there probably is a bit field, isn't there? Is there a bit field? Just say bit field. There's a bit array. I don't really want to use a bit array, but that's probably literally what this is for. How does bit array work? Store bits efficiently without having to do bit shifting yourself. It is a class, though. But I guess that's... Oh... No, that's not okay. Maybe it is okay. Because it's just a reference. I would like to not be limited in terms of size. Like, even theoretically limited. But I kind of don't want to use a bit array. I guess that's our fallback. Because that would be really hard, because we basically need... Each one of these blocks would store its own bit array, and that would get insane really quickly. I mean, it's still doable. It wouldn't be that big a deal, but it feels bad, man. All right, so none of this works anymore. I broke everything. What did I break everything with? This uint thing. To cast some stuff. So it would have to be like this. Parts and a u-long, 1 bit shifted. It's kind of stupid, but okay. this works. Because of this. I don't know why I'm bothering to fix this. I'm just gonna... This function doesn't exist in this system anymore. Well, hang on a second. 1 through 64. So this can't be an int. I have to convert the 1 to a... So if I shift the 1 over... So what do I get back from this, in this bit shift? Do I get back a 32-bit integer and then I convert it to a U-long, or do I get... How's this work? Where do I need to do the conversion? Do I need to do it in here? Yeah, I guess I need to do it in here. Because I need to guarantee that this number that's getting bit shifted doesn't just get shifted off the edge. There's probably a better way to do this, but that's fine. We don't know the best way to do anything. That's kind of our curse. I feel like I did this somewhere else and I'm going to be bit by it. How many versions of this function do I have? Oh, more than one. Yeah, so I convert the 1 to a U-long. And then I bit shift it. I wonder at what point I'm like, I get so sick of this that I start adding some helper functions here. Like an isBit in field kind of thing. Or isBit in field, isBit set. Where's my utility script? Have like a public static bool isBit set. Long field int index. This could probably be an expression body. Oh, 1UL. Thanks autofill. I forgot about 1UL. So this is a 1 that's already U long. Well, that helps. I might not even need this helper function then. 1UL. I don't need a 0UL. Because if it's 0, maybe I need a 0UL? Because if I try to compare it to like an integer 0, I actually don't know how that works. It could fail, right? So I could phrase this as if utility.isBitSet, it would be pos x block dot parts and pos y block dot parts. Compartment. Continue. I think I like that. If utility.isBitSet. I could even get rid of the utility. By doing like a static. Import static member. So that just is using di.utility. That's better. IsBit set. You pass in the fields, then you pass in the index of the bit that you want. Using the index. It's definitely way easier to look at. So we want to say is not bit set. Here we can say is bit set I like to, I know it's maybe like a little too clean, but I do like to hide some nitty gritty behind some level of abstraction when convenient, especially when that nitty gritty happens to be bitwise operations. All right, so now we need to replace this dictionary. This is the trick here. This could actually continue to be... This could potentially continue to be a static void. So blocks, and we would say hierarchy. We would say U-long hierarchy. So compartmentalize, we actually want to say, U-long. We should probably be an out variable is actually out U-long hierarchy. Oh wait, we don't actually need the whole hierarchy. We just need the count. Bounds.volume returns 0. Or, oh, I guess it's not as simple as return. I guess it's. Oh, I guess that's why. I guess that's why people don't normally do it this way. Say count equals integer out integer count. Right. So we'll start by declaring count 0. Okay, so we don't actually need this return thing. So if unvisited.count is equal to 0, return. Partition count equals... Oh, we can actually do it this way. Count equals 1. It is assigned. One track written, nice. Hell yeah, Fusionist. Parameter count must be assigned upon exit. Yeah. It is assigned. I assigned it to 0, and then I assigned it again as 1. Is that something you can only assign once? Alright, forget it. Thought it'd be cooler to have it as an out variable, but I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed at how that works. Return 0. Return 0. Return partition count. Fusionist, 38 minutes of audio on that album project started last week, which the writing phase ought to be close to done. That's awesome. That's a ton of audio. Actually, don't need this if unvisited.count is equal to 0 return partition count, because I'm pretty sure, at least in C#, if I hit a while statement and the condition is false, it won't run at all. Yeah, okay. Unlike some languages, I don't think the C# loop. Oh no, maybe it does. Oh no, it does. Oh no, that's the do while. I don't know. Do while always runs once and then checks the condition. But the while loop checks at the beginning of the loop. Okay. Some languages have made me very distrustful of that. Fusionist is very wintry music. You wonder if it matters whether you release it then or not. Oh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that matters. You're good while checks first and then runs. It doesn't do that in JavaScript, does it? Or is it a for loop that doesn't check until the second? While loop starts by evaluating the condition. Oh, okay, yeah, maybe I'm thinking of for loops. I am not a computer scientist. I have no formal programming education, and nobody should listen to anything I say. JS is the same way? Okay, cool. It's good that there's a real programmer around here somewhere. All right, so I'm just going to declare partition count as 0, and then I'm just going to increment it at the top of the while loop We'll either set it to 1 or we'll multiply it by 2. And that should be fine. Unvisited.count is equal to 0. So I don't actually need these early returns then, do I? This one actually, I maybe do. And then what about this one? This I can get rid of. This, I want to move my early out up here. If the partition count actually exceeds 64, we're gonna say compartment partition count. The number of compartments may not exceed 64 bits at this time. This could just be, you can just get rid of the at this time part. Number of internal partitions may not exceed 64. True. I don't know if I would consider that a timeout exception. Fusionist, I am not a computer. Likely thing a computer would say. Yeah. I said I was not a computer scientist. And no, that doesn't mean I'm not a computer who happens to be a scientist. Rhiannon Journey instructions unclear. You replaced their entire website. The work in progress block editor. Oh no. Okay, Diginanigans is explaining it to me in the YouTube chat with like code snippets. That's very nice. People are always surprised when I'm like, I am not a programmer. I just happen to program. All right, I think this still works. This might not still work, but it should work. So compartmentalize is going to get a... I know some places I call it a partition count, and other places I call it a compartment. But whatever. I'm just going to say count equals compartmentalize. We're going to rename this back to get compartment hierarchy. Count. So this is going to be U long hierarchy equals get compartment hierarchy. It's going to take a count. Thanks, Tiji. May I entertain you? Oh, that's funny. May I enter hyphen pain you? Sort of thing a recently turned vampire says. That's pretty clever. That's a pretty clever way to get around the rules. Yeah, Diginanigans. So the I equals 0 runs. So the first let whatever runs first. Then checks, and then it increments the counter. Shenanigans, you've been programming for 2 decades and you're pretty comfortable and confident in your domain. Yet a lot of the stuff I touch is new to you. Yeah. I definitely do a lot more programming in my day job than I have done, you know, more than a couple of years ago. But for the last few years, I've been programming a lot. And I always programmed a little, like for hobby as dev. Like I've been doing C# programming for like 15 years, but it was always through the window of, I guess it would be longer than 15 years. Because it was 15 years doing Unity. Maybe I started with JavaScript in Unity, though, back when they did JavaScript a lot. I don't know. It's been a long time, but yeah, it was always through a particular lens, right? Like, I've never just programmed to like learn how it works. It's always been like, oh, I want to get this behavior in this game. All right, so we've got our hierarchy where it's not going to be an out variable, I've decided. Integer count. So we're going to say ulong result. I guess result is fine. I'm going to say hierarchy equals new ulong count. In which case I can just say variable. I'm actually going to move it. No, I'm not. So we get this hierarchy. We know the count because we know the number of compartments. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to say int compartments. Compartments.clear, compartments.add. Variable I equals 0, I is less than 32. That's not right. 64. Oh, this array is actually... Yeah, hold on a second. So this compartments list could actually also be... Oh, no, because the compartments list is all of the compartments that belong to a particular block, so it could be up to 64. The hierarchy, we know how many actual compartments there are, so we can't be tricked by that. So we could actually say I equals 0, I is less than count. In which case we would actually say for this, we would say if why is this a not equal? Oh no, that's bit set. Oh, did I do this totally backwards then? These are the nots. And this is, yeah, oops, oopsies. Fusionist, you're making a parallel with I am not a computer scientist. Yeah, fair. We're going to go a little longer here. So this is another is. This is a utility. Where am I? I'm in the fill system. I should just be able to ask is bit set. Parts. I. All right, we're back in ads. Deciding if I'm gonna get a snack. No, I'll wait. I'll wait until a little later. Strawberries are like back in season, so I've had these. I'm having these enormous breakfasts. They're so good. They're these huge bowls of it's like yogurt, strawberries, and this granola that I make. So good. They're just these enormous breakfasts, and I'm finding that like compared to like my toast breakfasts that I have during the winter, I like eat one of these bowls and I'm like, I'm good until like the late afternoon. It's crazy. All right, so here we're gonna just say hierarchy. So the compartment in this hierarchy. And at the end, we just return the hierarchy. All right, and this should be a list of all... It should just be a list of all the compartments that are in front of another compartment. So, let's test this, I guess. And start to grapple with, you know, the sheer amount of... Let's just put a breakpoint after this runs here. Actually, let's just say... Let's say if... What we want to do actually is we want to say if... Yeah, if count is equal to 0, just return. Just don't even... Oh, no, we actually need to set the buffer part. Let's do that second. Let's do that after. And then what I can do is do this. And then I should be able to test this, yeah? We should be able to see what the compartment hierarchy looks like. So let's do like some simple tests. So we'll make pretty big ceiling here. Count equals 0. If count equals 0, return. But does return just hit here? I guess I don't understand what return does. Let's do it. Let's do it differently then. So I only want to hit a breakpoint if I actually populate this hierarchy. So instead of putting you there, can we put you here? Will this work? Okay, that seemed to work. So we're gonna go down. We're gonna make a couple of compartments. Okay. Count is 1. How? How is that true? How is count 1? Count is compartmentalized. Count is 1. Oh, shoot. Is that okay? Can we continue? Okay, so here's a room. So we've got count 2. Why is count 2? $12,000 milliseconds elapsed? That's not good. Or is that, does that have to do with just the breakpoint? count 2, hierarchy, long, 0, 0, 1, 0. Yeah, that's fine. There's a slight problem here. I guess I want if compartment or if count is greater than 1, because if count is 1, then there is no hierarchy. There's just one compartment. So yeah, that we want that. For one thing, we want that. We want to say is count greater than 1. That way we avoid some weird stuff. So let's test that instead. We're testing our little hierarchical thing. Seeing if we get a nice hierarchy when we start ordering rooms in front of each other. So we're gonna build. We're gonna start by building a room in the back here, and that crashes it, but that's okay, I think. 0, 1. So continue. And then what if we put another room in front here? Now what do we get? Nothing. Okay. All right, I've set this up incorrectly. All right, so compartmentalize. What are you doing? What are you doing to me here? Partition count is 0, while unvisited count is greater than 0. I realize this compartmentalization thing kind of fails. Am I throwing exceptions? Was I throwing exceptions when that was happening? I guess there's not really a way to tell now. I mean, I don't think I was, or I think I would have been told. Partition count is 0, while unvisited count is greater than 0. Partition count is either partition count times 2 or it's 1. Oh, no. Why am I doing it this way? We don't, it's not the part. Oh. Here's what I fucked this up. I forgot that we were at some point we were passing in the actual value of the flag. So we were passing in we were multiplying it by 2 because we were passing in 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. You know, we were passing in the value of the flag. That's not what I want to do. I want to keep track of the partition count. And then what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to pass in partition count times. It's a power. I need to pass in the power. Will that work for C#? No, that's going to be like a bitwise operation. Is it 2 asterisks? Is it this? Is this? No. I need partition count. I need 2 to the partition count. No, that's not how you do it there. Math. Pow. Partition count. X double returns a specified number raised to the specified power. X is the number. Okay, so we say pow 2 partition count. That's what I want to pass in. I want 2 raised to the partition count. That's what I want. Okay, I was like, why is this behaving so weirdly? It's because I forgot that it was the partition, and then I just added the name count to the end without thinking about why it was the partition and not the count. I was just like, I want to call this the count. And I forgot that it wasn't a count. It was an actual bit field value. But now we can just keep the count and then pass in the value. And that will work for us. Feel the need to do the Picard maneuver, just to like you straighten out your shirt. All right, so we should get a better value now for one thing. So now what do I want? So the problem that I realized is occurring is, so we get through the exterior flood fill, right? What if there's a big block in the middle of like solid objects? What if there's this big block, right? And what if that block is inaccessible? Then there's these unvisited coordinates that you literally can't ever get to. What does that mean for the flood fill, right? Why was this not a problem, I guess? Oh, because we do it because of here, because of we ask, all right, we pull a random. We actually don't pull a random. We pull a coordinate off this quote unquote stack, which is actually a list. There's maybe an argument to be made for unvisited to be a stack and not a list. I could say bounds.stack. Instead of toList, I can make a stack variable. Because what we're doing is we're just pulling it off the top and then removing at. I guess we are removing at, so unvisited can't be a stack. It actually needs to be a list. Never mind. So anyway, we pick a random spot. We ask if that spot is a solid object. If it is, we just pick a new spot and we remove that spot from the list. So that's why this isn't a problem. So actually, we actually don't want to do this partition count. We actually don't want to do this partition count until lower down. We actually want to do it here. If we do it at the top, we risk sending back the wrong partition count, because we might actually just run out of candidates before we actually do the next partition. But if we do it down here, also this needs to be greater than and not equal to. Okay, I think I've addressed the core problem here. So now we can go back here and we can go back to what we want, which is if count is greater than 0, then we want to do this, and we want to put a breakpoint here so we can look at what we get. Although, no, I guess it actually wants to be greater than 1. Oh, so there actually needs to be, there's one other thing that needs to happen, I'm realizing. Because it's a flag value and we're indexing into this array, this hierarchy array, when we write to it, it actually isn't compartment. It's the square root of the compartment, isn't it? So we would say index equals square root compartment. Can I convert source type double? Oh, because a ulong is a, it is, isn't it? I can do this, right? Because this was fine before because we were just doing a dictionary. But now we're doing an array, so I actually need to get the index of this stuff. Hierarchy index. Actually, we want to put this down here. Okay, this maybe will work now. Oh, do I actually need a seal or a seal? I'm like looking at the values of the square roots. The square root of 2 is 1.4414, which is not good. Okay. Forget you, Google. Yeah, I need to seal. So I need to get the square root and then seal it. Where is that? Hello, where is this? Oh, right here. I'm like, I can't find it in my own code. So we're gonna do math. Sealing. Is there no seal to integer? Returns the smallest integral value that is greater than or equal to the specified double precision floating point number. Yep, that's exactly what we want. Why don't I get an integer from this? Does sealing still not return? Oh, it still just returns even though it returns an integral value. Okay, yeah, I guess that's fine. All right, so we square root the actual value, which is an exponent. So it's either 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. It's a power of 2. So our compartment's a power of 2. We need to get it down into the index, so the order of those numbers. We could honestly have a lookup for this because we only need 64 of them. But I feel like it's just fine to do a square root and then a ceiling. Although, yeah, I don't know. Who cares? Who cares? Let's not try to optimize this before it matters. All right, does this work? What do we get back? More interestingly. So we make this big block, this big solid block that shouldn't matter. And then we make one room. All right, and that triggers the thing. So we get hierarchy of 1, 0. Oh. U-long is count 1. I'm creating this this thing wrong, aren't I? The hierarchy array needs to be count plus. Hold on. Maybe I do create a lookup. So otherwise, what I need to do... So if I get the square root of 1, that's 1. So that would be index 1. I don't want it, so I guess I could just do this minus 1. So that I get the index. Because the first compartment should be 0. The 0 index. So the compartment value of 1 indexes to 0. The compartment value of 2 indexes to 1. Compartment value of 4 indexes to 2. Compartment value of 8 indexes to 3, etc., etc. Yeah, that should be fine now. Why wasn't this causing a problem? I'm still unclear about why this isn't crashing. But, you know, I'll take it. Alright, so if we make one compartment, we should hit our breakpoint. Should be 0. So let's go again. So this is our first compartment. Let's make a second compartment and see what happens. Hit the breakpoint again. This value is still 0. That is wrong. So one of these values should be not 0. So we're messing this up a little bit. Oh. Alright, I kind of want to figure this out, but we might also have to pick this up tomorrow. Because I do have a hard stop coming up soon here. So if I think this isn't working, it's probably because... Ricky? Is that how I pronounce that? How's it going? That works? Okay. I'm like, there's a couple of consonants there that I don't know how to scale together. How you doing? How's it going? We're wrapping up, but we're having a good Friday. All right. So compartments list, compartments.clear. So we get all the compartments that this block belongs to. We go through each compartment in that list. If we can find a block that doesn't share that same compartment, so it's the edge of another compartment, then we go in here, we generate this index from the flag, from the bit flag. We ask, okay, is this bit not set for this block? Is this compartment bit not set in this block? If it's not, we go to this hierarchy at this index and we set this. Set it like this. So we take the compartment out of this bit field, and then we add the bit field, well, we OR the bit field with this compartment removed. We then OR it with the bit field that's already in here. So we should get something, but we don't. So that's the mystery. How's the stream going? It's good. It's cool. JE is Dutch, so don't worry about that. Oh, Dutch is fascinating to hear. There's like there's like some similarities with English, so it's like it, and then the rest is like so unintelligible to me. It's always interesting. Or maybe it's maybe I'm thinking of Danish. I'm gonna try not make a fool of myself in the last few minutes of the stream. It's gonna be really hard because I've been doing it all the whole time so far. I think I'm thinking of Danish. Or is that Dutch? See, I've already done it. I've already made a fool of myself. I've like made an attempt to not do it. Oh well, happy Friday. It is the weekend. We made it. It's time to turn our brains off. Yeah, okay. I think I'm really close to this, but we will be streaming tomorrow, so I think I'm just going to come back tomorrow and we're going to figure this out tomorrow. Because I do have to go. I've got a meeting in a few minutes, and I actually need to do some preparation for it. You want to say respect that I'm able to do all this? It looks complicated. Thank you. I don't understand it all. If that's any consolation. I don't understand what I've made, which is why we spend a lot of time finding bugs. But yeah, we're going to generate this hierarchy list tomorrow, and it's going to be really useful because we'll be able to cut away compartments based on the visual hierarchy of which compartments are further back in the 3D space. And that'll be super cool. It'll be the cornerstone of our new cutaway system. Cornerstone, you get it? Should I say corner block? It's gonna be awesome. Thank you for the follow. I really appreciate that. I'm gonna ask someone how to pronounce your name. I know someone more familiar with that than I am. And hopefully I won't make a fool of myself tomorrow too much. Laters, everyone. Thank you, Repo. Thank you, Rianne and Journey. Thank you, Ricky. I'm tempted to try out alternative pronunciations. I'm gonna not do that. Thanks to Shenanigans. Thanks to everyone who showed up today. Fusionist. It was a really chill day today. Try. Yeah, maybe tomorrow. But yeah, I gotta wrap it up. I'm excited to get this system in place, this new system. This is figuring out how to cut away and view into these spaces, into these isometric 3D spaces, is the cornerstone of the game. Like, managing this and managing the camera for that, like managing that visibility issue as you peer into these 3D ships by like cutting away chunks of them. That's crucial. It's how I justify spending so much time on this, because I think that access, the way you access the game, the way you see into or interact with the game is definitely the most important part of the game, right? Take care. Have a good weekend. Thank you, Diginanigans. You too. We'll be back tomorrow streaming. I know you're going to be doing better things, but just for anyone else watching, we'll be back around the same time. Maybe a little different time because it's the weekend. We can kind of do whatever we want, but we will be here. We'll be here tomorrow on Saturday. You'll try to join. No rush. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to like be like, come back tomorrow so I can try to pronounce your name correctly. No, enjoy the weekend. The weather's getting nice. Everyone should get out, not be in front of a computer all day. Can't promise. Yeah, no worries. Enjoy yourself. It's the weekend. We made it. Friday's almost over. Depending on your time zone, it already is. So, yeah. Hope you all have a great weekend. Thank you all so much for watching. And I'll see you next time. Bye.